What's up, football fans? Welcome back to Football Talk with Hawk podcast. Thank you so much for stopping by and listening, whether you are on Spotify or on YouTube. If you are on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the like button. It is absolutely appreciated. All right, here we go. Week 16. Time to start looking ahead. We're going into a holiday weekend. So next week, I'm probably only going to have 3 podcasts next week. I've actually got one of my family Christmases in the middle of next week. So it's going to be a little bit different of a week. But nonetheless, let's look ahead at what we see. Las Vegas doesn't know what to do with half the games. And the other half of the games they've told you basically are not even worth watching. That's really what they're saying. So let's look at this. Let's just take a look. Thursday night football. Now, by the time you guys listen to this, you guys are going to be listening on Friday, as I'm recording this on Thursday night. So the game has not been played. It's not over yet. So whatever the outcome of the Rams and Saints game is, which I believe is easily going to be the Rams. I think they blow the Saints out. I don't believe that if Olave plays, the Saints offense may have a little bit of a shot. I don't believe in Dennis Allen. You guys know this. I think he needs to be fired. He needs to be fired quickly. The minute Black Monday comes open, Monday morning, you have the meeting, boom, he's fired. There's a really good chance that January 7th, teams are not going to wait. Like, they're going to flex the game into Sunday Night Football. I think it's going to be the Bills versus Miami. Miami, Florida, Sunday Night Football, close out the year, Bills versus Miami. I believe that's what I would do. That's me. I don't know if that's the game they're going to flex, but that's the game I would flex. Now, here is the other aspect of what this is looking like with the coaches. Dennis Allen maybe doesn't feel a bunch of pressure, and he may not have his team as fired up as a lot of us think he should. That's very possible. Okay? On that note, when we're just with that simple, basic structure, McVay's got the Rams dialed in. So my pick, like I said, this video before the game is taking place, my pick is easy. Rams blow out the Saints. Okay? Now, let's look at Saturday's games. I like it. The Bills and Charger game would be a lot more interesting if Justin Herbert versus Josh Allen was actually for playoff position. If the Chargers, in everybody's mind, could actually truly affect the Buffalo Bills playoff position right now. Could you imagine how many views this game would get? Herbert versus Josh Allen in Los Angeles. The Chargers at home, but not actually going to be at home because the Buffalo fans are going to get out of Western New York and have Christmas in LA. Like, this is going to be a really good game if it was everything we thought the beginning of the year would be. The way it is, Charger defense stinks. I don't think they're going to come out inspired. Yes, they've had a lot of time to be able to kind of recuperate from that loss with Staley getting fired. I don't like the staff for the Chargers. This isn't a guy like Antonio Pierce coming in. Honestly, the Chargers really don't want to win because right now they could get the 4th pick in the draft. Why win? There's really no reason to win. You got your backup quarterback in there. I don't see it working. I don't see any part of this. Austin Eckler said he's got a lot to play for ahead of free agency. They're going to have to let him walk. I'd draft a new running back. Absolutely would let him walk. or sign a cheaper one in free agency. Like, there's a lot of different options, but the Bills and Charger game really simply is, it's the Bills. The Bills are going to be ready to play. The Bills are going to be in a dome. Look for the Josh Allen to throw the ball deep to Diggs. Look for them to have some fun in LA. Run the ball. I like what they're doing. They're going to let Allen air it out in a defensive secondary that's not a danger to Josh Allen. You got to have some fun because the next week they're going to be back at home against the Patriots. They're going to ground and pound. That's what's going to happen. It's okay. Look for a huge 45-point explosion from the Bills this weekend. But let's look at a lot of what can take place this weekend. One of the most boring games or most interesting games is going to be Washington versus the Jets. I will say, if Jacoby Brissett starts for Washington, I'm going to lean Washington. I think that's the way, from what I've read, they're potentially leaning that way right now over Sam Howell. But if that's what happens, Jacoby Brissett threw the ball deep. That game against the Rams, he brought him back. He will throw the ball deep. Terry McLaurin was happy when Jacoby Brissett came into the game. And I think that they can do that against the Jets. The Jets just got embarrassed, but I'm really not sure that it really matters. Trevor Siemian's going to be starting. Even with the Washington defense that's been horrendous this year, I don't see it mattering. I think the Jets' offense is worse than the bad Washington defense. They still have some good defensive tackles. I don't know. This game could be horrible, or it could be kind of interesting. But really, what is off of this is if Washington wins, they worsen their draft position. And yes, I know the players don't care about this, but you know what? We're talking about 3 or 4 slots at this point. Like, if you're going to miss the playoffs, now's the time to just lose. Because it is so muddled in that area that a win could cost you 3 spots. No kidding. A win could cost you 3 spots. The Bears could win 2 of their final 3 games. Feasibly can win 2 of their final 3 games. They do that, they could end up drafting 8th, 9th. Like, the margin is so close. We're not talking about a win. Yeah, you'll move up 1. No. We're talking about it is that dang close where that's how it could end up. You win, you drop in the draft order 3 spots. The GM and the owner are like, doggone it. The players are going to play. But if you're not planning on doing anything, and there's not many of these teams that there are, Washington's going to be a coaching change. Jets, I don't believe will be a coaching change. So if I'm the Jets, I'd rather lose. Lose, plus the head-to-head then goes to Washington. So Washington goes above you. You drop lower. I don't really like the way the NFL has changed the head-to-head. To me, head-to-head needs to matter. You played the team, you beat the team. If you're tied, you won over them. You get the better spot, period. Because if that was the case, the Colts' road to the playoffs would be basically impossible. Because they've lost to Cincinnati, they've lost to Cleveland. Jacksonville, they've already lost twice. We know the head-to-head matters about that. And then the Texans. But the way that this is going to play out, the draft order is going to shuffle almost as much, potentially. This is potentially. The draft order could shuffle as much this weekend as the playoff positioning could. So if the Saints lose to the Rams, the Saints are in a lot of trouble. They got to then beat the Bucs on the road next week. I don't see it happening. I like what the Bucs are doing. Rachaad White, Mike Evans, Godwin, Otton. It's a solid offense. The team's not going to win a Super Bowl. The team's probably not even going to win a home playoff game. They could. They're an upset. They are a matchup away from being the upset in the first round. Now wild card weekend. But I just don't see it happening. I think New Orleans lost their chance. New Orleans lost the original chance at the division. And the Falcons over the last 2 weeks basically squandered it. I think the Bucs sneak in. I really do. I think the Bucs get in at 8-9. I think this weekend is the kind of the switch game. I think Jacksonville, after getting embarrassed, I always like the better quarterback, the better coach, coming back from an embarrassing loss at home against the Ravens. Sunday Night Football, they looked bad. This week, I think they have a sound week. They're in Florida still. It's a road game, but not a road game. I think Lawrence, the Jags, go in there. They handle Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay wins the division at 8-9. That is my guess. That's just my guess. Why do I think that? Simple. Because I honestly believe they win next week against New Orleans. And I think week 18, Carolina, if there is nothing to play for, truthfully, in Tampa Bay, I'm not playing Lavonte David. I'm not playing anybody that's partially injured because I know I've got the playoff game. I think they could have it locked up. I think the Falcons beat the Colts this week, which lets them hang around. But then I think the Falcons lose next week. They lose in week 18 on the road, or week 17 on the road. And then you got the Falcons at the Saints in week 18, and I think the Saints beat the Falcons. I don't think the Falcons are going to be there. The Saints are already going to have 2 losses between the Rams and the Bucs, as far as what I'm projecting. So the Buccaneers don't have to play hard against Carolina. I think Carolina's going to feel a little bit stronger. Everything's kind of settled down. They got another W. You know, I think the fans don't believe in them, and the players are going to play with a chip on their shoulder. They're playing for next year at this point. They're playing to impress the coach that's going to be coming in. I fully agree. Fully believe that. Fully believe that could happen. They could win 2 of their final 3 games easily. I see them potentially beating the Packers this weekend. It depends on which Green Bay shows up. Let's be honest. They were home against the Bucs, and that defense was atrocious. Atrocious. On the road against Carolina, what Jordan Love is going to show up? That's your first question. What offensive line is going to show up? That's your second question. They got Derek Brown. They got Brian Burns on that defense for Carolina. They got J.C. Horn. Jayden Reed is out. Who's going to step up? Wicks, Dobbs. Listen, the reality is the Packers are young. They are young. So give them a little bit of time here. If they don't make the playoffs, big deal. But I could see them going in, Carolina winning by a field goal again. I could see it happening. So Carolina actually could screw the Chicago Bears out of the number one pick. If the Patriots lose out and the Panthers win, the Patriots then get the number one pick. Boy, would that be what a weird thing to have happen. Like, are you kidding me? The Patriots with the number one pick in the draft? Now, I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Patriots beat the Jets in week 18 at home. I do believe that'll happen. It's the Jets. Bill Belichick hates them. He'll figure out how to play defense so well, they'll win that game like 9-4. Yes, Jets get 2 safeties because, well, the Patriots have given up safeties multiple times this year. But nonetheless, like, that's what's going to happen. And I believe Carolina, even with the 2 more wins, they may have to coin flip for it. They may have to coin flip for it. And if that's the case, oh boy. But this weekend has got intriguing matchups because of what it has. The Falcons can still technically win the division, but they got to win out. The Saints are going to be automatically hurt once they lose, because I believe that's going to happen against the Rams, and I believe it did. Like, that's my projection. The Saints, I don't think, have a shot. I really don't give the Saints an opportunity, but the Falcons still could. If the Buccaneers are going to play all out, I think they beat the Panthers in week 18, but if they've got the division locked up, the Panthers could win. But this weekend's got games like the Cardinals at the Bears. The Cardinals just don't have healthy receivers. Kyler Murray's back, but there's no receivers to throw to. Hollywood Brown keeps getting injured. Honestly, he's in trouble because he keeps coming back. He's questionable, he plays, and he's out. And then, just keep the guy out. He really hurt me in fantasy by getting 0 points. Not even targeted. Murray doesn't have anybody to throw the ball to. So you got the Cardinals at the Bears. You got the Falcons at home against the Colts. You got the Texans at home, I believe right now, as underdogs against the Browns. Listen, I know Flacco's been good, but let's just hang on a second here. We're talking about a DeMeco Ryans coached Houston Texan team that just went into Tennessee in a division game, tough, hard, physical game, and beat them up. And Joe Flacco throws interceptions, and a lot of them. Cleveland with the most giveaways against a Houston team that is legitimately fighting for the playoff ability, the playoff spot. Last week I thought they were going to lose. Case Keenum is a great spot starter. I think that's why they're going to trust him against the Browns. They see the Browns matchup on with their defense as capable, and they see themselves being able to run their offense the way the Bears ran their offense on the Browns. Now, they better chip. They better double block Myles Garrett, no doubt. But listen, check down, check down, check down, check down. Devin Singletary, just check down, check down, check down. Do what you got to do. But that game is really intriguing. Sunday night game, Patriots and Broncos. I'm taking the Broncos by 15. I don't think the Patriots have a prayer in the world, because the Broncos are technically still in the hunt. They can still make the playoffs. They win out, they really make it interesting. No joke. They really make it interesting. Wild. Now, let's get to Christmas Day. The Chiefs are currently 10-point favorites over the Raiders. The Chiefs looked bad against the Patriots. Now, I did call this out. I said, I think they're going to be hungover. I think they're going to be whining, and I didn't think they were going to look that good. I was right. Now, you got a Raider team that just put up 63 points. I said last week that was they decided to use up their point total for the entire rest of the season in one game. It was a joke, but I kind of think that's going to be the case. Aiden O'Connell, I don't really think he's not an NFL quarterback, and I don't think the Raiders are going to do what the Falcons did and believe that he is. Because even in the games where it's big, it's not like he's lighting everything up. But, division game. The Chief offensive line has struggled. We know the receivers struggle. If you're Antonio Pierce and the defensive coordinator, acting defensive coordinator for the Raiders, you're watching Kelsey and you're watching Rashee Rice. Now, if Pacheco is healthy and plays, I will say that adds an element to it because I love Pacheco for the Chiefs. I love him. It was a great steal for them to get. But if he doesn't play, it's going to be a lot of screen passes. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Jerick McKinnon is going to be catching passes out of the backfield. The Raiders are going to hold this game close with Pacheco out. With Pacheco healthy, I think the Chiefs can run harder, and I think they run better. But look out for the Chiefs to definitely be in a dogfight on Christmas Day. Now, Philly and the Giants. I know what happened last week. I know. I watched DeVito get knocked out. I know. I don't know what the Giants have left in them to fight. I don't. It's a division game against a team that has been struggling to score. And everybody's going, it's against top-end talent. Okay, you lost to the Seahawks and once again scored only 17 points. Stop telling me it's only against top-end talent. The Cowboys twice bruised you. Once you got lucky with the W, and once you got blown out of the building. The 49ers blew you out of the building. The Seahawks, you played close, but you once again only scored 17 freaking points. And the spread right now is 11.5. So Vegas, if you're going off of the last 3 games played, is thinking that the Eagles are going to win 17-5. I don't know what fight the Giants have left. Brian Daboll has tried to keep everything together. I really think the team is in kind of letdown, drop-down mode at this point. Like, what else can go wrong? You know, I think that's really what they're going to look at it as. I think the team's struggling. And I get it. I'm not faulting them. It's been a rough year. But I don't think the Eagles blow them out. They probably will. A.J. Brown is probably going to go off. He's probably going to have like 3 touchdowns on 165 receiving yards. No, the game that they just throw the ball up and let him catch it. But looking at it, division game, what the Eagles have been doing recently, and yes, it's recency bias. That's a very, very big thing. But the Eagles haven't looked great all year. They haven't played the Giants yet. They play them 2 of the final 3 games. This one's in Philly, at home, Christmas Day. How much the players are focused, we'll see. But look for that one to be closer. Definitely taking the Giants to cover the spread on that one. And then the big game of the week. Yeah, America's game of the week is going to be the Cowboys at the Dolphins, which, by the way, the Cowboys are underdogs. I don't know how that happened. I don't know how the Cowboys are underdogs against Miami after getting beaten the way they did against the Bills. Vegas never learns. Vegas never learns. A great, a great slash good, they're in between the two. A really competitive team, after getting embarrassed in the game of the week, of which they're on back-to-back weeks, and they're on a lot, is not going to go to Miami, where they have got injuries up and down the offensive line, and Tyreek Hill still isn't practicing. I think he's going to play. I think he's got to. The Dolphins are going to feel pressure because they look at the Bills and they know that that final game against them is probably going to be for the division. They've got the Cowboys, the Ravens, the Bills. That's Miami's final 3 games to end the season. That's why if they make the playoffs as a wild card team, I'm not picking Miami. I'm not picking a road Miami team after getting drudged 3 weeks in a row. This is what I think is going to happen. I don't give them a shot in Baltimore on the road. I don't give them a shot against Buffalo when the division's on the line. Give me Josh Allen over Tua. It's that simple. Could be wrong. We'll find out. But this is the way that this week is. The Cowboys are underdogs. Cowboys are going to beat the pants off of the Dolphins. And Dolphins don't even wear pants. And they're going to beat the pants off of the pantless Dolphins. But the Monday Night Football game is the big one. Monday, Christmas Day, night football. Baltimore Ravens at San Francisco 49ers. Many are wondering if this is a Super Bowl preview. If both of them are the number 1 seeds, I would say it's a 50% chance. I like the number 1 seed's chances more now than I used to, because they're the only ones that get a bye. They're the only ones that have a chance to be able to rest and get healthy. It's not 2 teams anymore that get a bye. It's 1. So I really like the number 1 team's chances the best now. Now, I don't know why this spread is currently 5.5 points. I don't know why the Ravens are expected to lose by 5.5 points. They just went into Jacksonville. And I've heard all the stupid, crazy talk this week that Trevor Lawrence is a bust. Are you kidding me? You win your division. You make the playoffs. You won a playoff game. Like, where's the bust part of this? He was out. Guy's been injured. They got him weapons. The team's been a little bit up and down. Doug Peterson's going to have to figure that out. But they are a very good team at forcing turnovers. And the Ravens went in there and they beat them 23-7. Now, the Ravens and 49ers are 2 very physical teams. In fact, the bigger thing I'm worried about in this game is whether or not these teams are going to get out of this game without just basically killing each other. Really, that's what I'm worried about. Like, this game, to me, basically will decide whether or not San Francisco and Baltimore in Week 18 both rest everybody and give them 2 weeks off. I know, I hear the people going, 2 weeks is too long. Listen, not if you're injured. Not if you're injured. It's not too long. You need Deebo Samuel healthy. You need Trent Williams healthy. You need Chase Young healthy. You need Bosa healthy. Like, do not tell me the 49ers wouldn't rest everybody in week 18 just to make sure they're healthy. Same with the Ravens. The Ravens are not really in danger of losing the number 1 seed. But Lamar Jackson, Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, Flowers, Isaiah Likely, the offensive line, defensive line. Guys, this game could be a game where we come out of this and the injury report afterwards is 8 or 9 guys. These teams are physical. It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a hard-fought game. Prime time. These guys are not going to back down from this. They're going to give us a Christmas Day finish that we want. It's going to be physical. It's going to be tough. It's going to be Lamar Jackson versus Brock Purdy. Lamar Jackson's the better quarterback. Brock Purdy is absolutely a system quarterback. I'm sorry, deal with it. Yes, I know there's those that are like, he reminds us a lot of Tom Brady. You're right. And finally, people are realizing it. You're right. He is. Very system-oriented early on, relying on the defense, relying on the weapons. It's not about him right now. He's got the best running back in the league in Christian McCaffrey. He's got one of the best receivers. He's got another receiver that's top 15, maybe top 12. Yeah, this game's going to be tough. It's going to be hard fought, and I am looking forward to this game. 49ers, Ravens, in San Francisco, playing under the lights, Monday Night Football. This will be the perfect way to finish off Week 16. And whatever the chaos is that takes place, or whatever the chaos isn't that takes place, it will be a perfect bow, pun intended, to close out the week. All right. Let's close out this podcast. Let's do 5 to 10 minutes talking about something else here. Let's talk coaching carousel again, but with a different aspect. Let's say there's coaches that are unhappy with where they're at. Coaches. Let's say there is instead of necessarily wanting to fire them, they don't know what to do. Okay? Let's just throw that out there. And another team wants them. Where could this happen? The Steelers are going to be reluctant, but I think they'll do it. But they will be reluctant to fire Mike Tomlin. So, if that's the case, sorry, I was looking at my notes. So, if that's the case, what if you trade for him? Another guy I don't think is going to get fired is Brian Daboll. I think Daboll will win out in New York. I don't think he likes the Daniel Jones. I'm not sure if the GM is set up to be able to financially figure out how to let Daniel Jones go and to move on without issues. Okay? I'm not sure. It's a hard thing to do. let's say that a team like New Orleans, or I'm going to throw this out there. Tom Telesco gets hired as the GM. Everybody gets cleaned out of Chicago because they have 2 first-round picks. They got to make a huge decision on Justin Fields. And their entire next 5 years' future is relying on this draft. Okay? They got a lot of draft picks this draft. This is a big draft. If they bottom out this draft, they're done for the next 5 years. There's no recovering from a draft that has this many picks and this many studs in it. You got to make something of it. What if they trade their pick, keep the Carolina pick, but they trade their pick for Brian Daboll of the Giants? He then can make the decision on Justin Fields. I believe Tom Telesco would absolutely help him continue to build the team there. They've got their edge rusher. Montez Sweat is there. They've got a good linebacker in Tremaine Edwards, of which they got from the Bills. They signed him away from the Bills last year. Jalen Johnson, the corner, has said he wants to stay in Chicago. I'd sign him. So your defense has some money on it. Justin Fields, you need to make the call on him, and you need to make it relatively quick. But you do have a couple of years to be able to do this. You got 2 years to be able to make this call. He doesn't deserve a max contract extension. He doesn't deserve a huge pay raise. He hasn't gotten the numbers. He doesn't have the success to back it up yet. So you have time. Get Brian Daboll in there. If he doesn't want to draft a quarterback because he believes Justin Fields can work, of which, by the way, I do think he can work. If you want to move off of him, I think there's a couple teams that would take him, give him a change of scenery, and give him the opportunity to play. I see a team like the Raiders trading a second or a third, or even just this, the conditional third and a sixth to the Bears for Fields and a fifth. I could absolutely see that happening. I could see the Falcons. I think they're going to be in the big running for either a draft pick, swap, they're going to try to move up, or they're going to go after a wild trade, and I've got a trade that I'm going to propose to you in the next podcast that's wild that my buddy and I were talking about. But what if they're going to go after Kirk Cousins. What if they trade for Justin Fields? Justin Fields in Atlanta, Drake London, he's got a receiver. Van Jefferson, he's got a slot guy. He's got Bijan Robinson. He doesn't have to play Superman. The core is there. Arthur Smith will be able to reel him in a little bit. Brian Daboll then gets to draft the quarterback he wants. He's still got a lot of picks in the second through fourth round to be able to then build up around, get some role guys into Chicago, and be able to build up the team. Let me throw another name out there, and this is a little interesting, okay? But we said in the last one that the cupboard seems to be bare. A lot of teams think the cupboards are bare, evidently. Now, do I believe that? Not wholeheartedly. I think that's a lot of talk. I think the cupboards actually are pretty full. They just don't want to let everybody know that they're going after guys that have won before and not going after guys that are unproven. That is my feeling on it. What if you're the Saints? Okay, what if you're the Saints? What if you make a trade to be able to get the NFC South crown back? You got Todd Bowles at Tampa Bay, who is probably not getting fired after winning the division. He's probably not going to get fired after making the playoffs, let's be honest. Arthur Smith, who I still don't think Arthur Blank should fire. I still think give him a chance to get the quarterback right. Period. Okay? Think about this trade, though. What if the Saints trade for Mike Tomlin? What if the Steelers don't fire him and the Saints trade for Mike Tomlin? Do I think it's going to happen? Absolutely not. But this is why this is a football podcast. Because we have seen different things happen in the past that we didn't expect. And when you see so many different things happen over and over and over again, you start wondering, what's the correlation? What makes sense? What is it that's happening? Well, there's desperate teams. That would be a desperate move by New Orleans. They know Allen isn't a good coach. They should have won the division this year. It was the Saints' division to lose. They blew it. Go get Mike Tomlin. He'll reset the culture. He can play in Louisiana in the Bayou. He can play down hometown. All right, I was going to wait for the next one. I was going to wait for the next podcast, but since we're on trades and we're on wild hypotheticals, let's go with the hypothetical that makes a lot of sense. I don't believe Arthur Smith should be fired for the Atlanta Falcons. I don't. I like Arthur Smith. I think he's really good. I think Ritter has played better with him than he would play with a lot of other coaches. I think they vastly underperformed. I don't like the way they had to set the... I don't really like the way the offense looked this year. Bijan Robinson is not enough of a focal point. The quarterback, I think, really Arthur feels limited with now. And the red zone turnovers, just there's a lot to it, but nonetheless. And then we're going to flip this. We've all heard about all the stuff, and we've seen all the drama between Russell Wilson and Sean Payton in Denver. Denver misses the playoffs. I've got a trade. Now think deeply about this. The Atlanta Falcons trade their first-round pick, a fourth-round pick, and a future third-round pick to the Broncos for a first-round pick and a future, to the Broncos for Russell Wilson and a future fifth-round pick. Russell Wilson's numbers do not lay out enough to get multiple high picks. But you can get one. You're also going to trade probably Taylor Heinicke to the Broncos. Sean Payton would probably want Heinicke. I think he's going to see him as a very serviceable backup, of which he is. Do not forget, he's beaten Philadelphia. He is a very serviceable backup. Okay? Russell Wilson in Atlanta is going to be the majority of the cap hit, but you've got the young receivers, London, Bijan Robinson, young. You've got young corners. You're young in most places, and this can probably work. Russell Wilson in Atlanta with Arthur Smith will become the expected division champions. And they will be expected to win 11 games. 10 or 11 games. 10-7 or 11-6. But they'll be expected to win the division. Now, before you think it's crazy, listen, you're going to have to trade. I don't think the Broncos just cut Russell Wilson. They may, But I think they dangle him out to a desperate team. Atlanta's desperate. They traded Matt Ryan. They traded stability. They moved off. We've got multiple quarterbacks that can't really do it. Flacco is doing it in Cleveland, but he's turning the ball over. Let's just slow down on Flacco being amazing for a second and understand he's turning the ball over quite a lot. Like, let's just be real here. Okay? You're not going to have guys like Ryan Tannehill, Joey Garoppolo. You're not going to have Joe Flacco being signed in the offseason. They're going to go somewhere. Garoppolo may not be cut. The Raiders are probably going to go after their quarterback. I love the Raiders getting Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields to the Raiders makes a lot of sense. You don't have to give up a 1. You can give up a conditional 3rd. If he starts 75% of the games, it moves to a 2nd. I could easily see that happening if Chicago's going to move off of him. Everybody's willing to get assets if you're going to trade. Cutting, you get nothing. Trading, you get something. And you can work out contract details to where it's not as much of a cap hit. See, there's a lot of stuff that goes into this, and I don't think everybody is really thinking this through. Russell Wilson being traded looks like a very legitimate opportunity. Sean Payton wants somebody that's going to follow the plan to a capital T. You've got Javonte Williams, Jerry Jeudy, Courtland Sutton, and all Sean Payton wants him to do is play the game and play the system the way the system is set up. That is exactly what Sean Payton wants Russ to do, and he's not doing it. I think this could be an offseason where we see a trade for a coach, and we're going to once again see wild trades for quarterbacks that can still play. Desperate teams do desperate things. Look at what the Browns did with Deshaun Watson. Yes, I know it was stupid, but look what they did. And I know it was the Browns, but look, there's desperate teams out here, guys. And there's a legit shot at something really wild and multiple wild things happening because we've got a lot of desperate teams that just want to be able to compete. They just want to compete. And that's where we're at currently in this NFL. It's going to make for a wild offseason. We're going to have plenty more to talk about, but that is enough for tonight. Guys, I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you so much for listening. I hope we have a fantastic football weekend. Whatever the outcome was of the Thursday night game, you guys already know. Hopefully the Rams smashed the Saints and put themselves in even better position for the playoffs. I will see you guys tomorrow. Not sure what we're going to talk about yet. I got a couple options, but then obviously Sunday morning will be my pick video for the week. For those of you who are going to be busy over the next couple days, have an absolutely Merry Christmas and a safe time traveling if you are traveling out of town. And if you guys are going to listen, I will see you on the next one. Until the next one, guys, Football Talk with Hawk. I'm Hawk, and I'm out.